on this.
Okay, we're good.
Thank you so much, Amy, and thank you everybody for having me here today. I come to this meeting with so much joy and so much gratitude to all of you for being here today, and also with so much respect and a lot of heartfelt emotions to all of you, being the group of piano teachers who are in the midst of the tragedy of the fires. I just can't imagine what you're going through as a community and what everybody has felt and thought in the last month. So I just want to say that at the beginning, and also join you in the hope that as we continue to go through this, the community, we can come together and help those who need the most right now. A little bit about how I started thinking about mindfulness. I used to teach piano class at Metro years and years ago, and that is the class everybody despises because these are majors in other instruments who don't want to be there. They have to take piano, it's a requirement. And I thought, what can I do to make these students hate me a little less? That was it. And so we started every class, this is a bunch of, freshmen and sophomores stretching, and I would do this breathing exercises. And then one day somebody said, Dr. Nieto, I love your class because I feel this is the only moment where I get to take a break. And I said, what do you mean? Can you tell me more about that? And he said, I just get to breathe for the first time in my day when I come to you. And that got me thinking about this. And I started teaching piano pedagogy, and just like any other pedagogue at this time, sort of talking about the importance of wellness in our lives wasn't enough. I wanted my students to experience this in the piano pedagogy class. I wanted them to have specific tools they could take to their piano students and put in practice with. So we started doing very short 5-minute body scans or breathing exercises or visualizations. And again, I got the same feedback. We love your class because this is the only time where we can take a break. I'm not sure if I went back to my class piano students, if they would say they'll learn the most from me, but I know I gave them a tool to become less stressed out. And I know that if they are less stressed out, they can learn better. Continue to fast forward in time. My children were home, just like every other child, starting in March of 2020, learning remotely. And I, at the time, had a 6-year-old in kindergarten and 2 4-year-old boys in preschool. And I really thought I was going to lose my mind, just like every other parent on the planet. But then I realized as they were logging in with their teachers in their computers, every teacher was doing a breathing exercise before they started teaching. Or they would do a little brain break. And everything included either mindful movement, so connecting with their bodies, or some sort of breathing activity. And then my children started teaching me. And they say, Mommy, you look so stressed out right now. Let's do the balloon together. And I thought, what are you talking about? And that's how I started learning more and more about this and then incorporating it into my teaching. And finally, last October, MTNA was so generous to grant me the Teacher Enrichment grant. And I took an 8-week certificate course in mindfulness, a mindfulness class called Mindfulness Stress Reduction course. And so mindfulness is now being researched all over the place. And it's not just this idea of, a Buddha meditating in the middle of the beach next to the ocean where everything is perfect. It's something people are incorporating more and more into their lives. So what I would like to do, if you are so kind to indulge me here for a minute, is close your eyes. This is not going to be the fun part of the exercise, but I promise you we'll get to it. Close your eyes and picture how you feel in your body when you are stressed out. Picture what it's like in your throat, in your stomach, in your shoulders, And you can recall any stressful situations, anything from a performance, or maybe meeting a new student, having a difficult interaction with a parent. Being in line at the grocery store can be very stressful these days. What I'd like for you to really do, more than thinking about this, is try to go to where in your body you feel this and what it is that the sensation is like. And then when you're ready, if you feel that you can share with everybody, just type in the chat words that come to mind. The question is, what does it feel like to be stressed out? Tension, worried, heaviness. I feel a sense of suffocation in my chest when I'm stressed out. That's almost as if I'm trying to breathe, but I can't. There's this like heaviness in my chest, anxious. Headaches, our head gets pressure, tightness. Brain fog, it's hard to think, it's hard to concentrate. I can relate to all of these. And now we're gonna do another exercise. And feel free to turn your video off for this part if it makes you feel more comfortable. The idea is that you find a comfortable place in your chair, in your couch, wherever it is that you're sitting. And again, I invite you to close your eyes for this one. Make sure both of your feet are flat on the floor. And you can begin by becoming aware of the rising and falling of your breath in your chest and in your belly. And simply take a couple of deep breaths, feeling how the air goes in and out of your body. Now, with your next breath, pretend you can travel with your breath to the sole of your feet. And as you take your breath to the sole of your feet, any tension you may have there can dissolve. This might not happen, and then your job is just to keep breathing and observe your breath. And with your next breath, become aware of any sensation you have in your ankles. Your next breath will take you to your lower legs and your knees. Almost as if you could take a trip throughout your body with every breath you take. This next breath will take you to your legs and your hips. in your belly. Take a minute to take breath and feel the sensations in your lower back. And let the breaths you're taking dissolve the tension in any areas you might find tight. Notice any sensations you have in your upper back and in your chest. Next breath is going to be into your arms and your wrists and your fingers. And one breath to lessen the tension in your neck and shoulders. You can imagine every breath creating more spaciousness. Imagining the tension or the pain flowing out of that part of your body. When you reach the top of your head, scan your body one last time for any areas of tension or discomfort. Imagine that you have a little hole at the top of your head from where the breath is going in now and it's washing away any leftover tension in your body. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and stretch a little and return to our space together today. Tell me how that feels. And you can again type in the chat. We'll have more time for sharing at the end. Mindfulness is no good when it's talked about. It's only good when it's practiced. That's why I wanted to start our meeting with this. Peaceful, says Chip. Anything else? Relaxed. Clear. That took us 4 minutes. Stronger. The great one. Sometimes for me, when I do these exercises, it feels like I'm eating broccoli. And I don't particularly love broccoli, but I know my whole body will be better afterwards. So it doesn't necessarily feel great in the moment because I feel like I'm fighting my mind going away and I'm trying to come back to the breath. But then afterwards, it's like, oh, I'm a new person. It's like after I took a shower, I feel so good. You are welcome, Martha. So I'm going to share my screen now. Sometimes we don't know what to do in the midst of all the stress we have. We can all relate to these images, right? Somebody says, how are you? And I want to say, how much time do you have today to tell me, for me to tell you how I am? Because it's not pretty. In the mornings when my kids are leaving for school and I feel like I could strangle all three of them together. Or when somebody emails me with another question about the same topic and I've already answered it. I mean, and these are so easy stressors to deal with, right? The reason you experience the tightness that we talked about when we are stressed out and the relaxation that you just experienced as we did this body scan, it's not because there's anything wrong with you or because you need therapy or any type of specific medication. The reason we experience this is because we are human beings. We are designed to have a physiological response under stress. And there is also a physiological response when the stress or the perceived threat has passed. That is called the autonomic nervous system. This is the part of the nervous system that does all the involuntary things that you do every day. You don't have to tell your heart to beat. You don't have to tell your lungs to breathe. These are things that happen. And just like the heart beating or the lungs breathing, we have two parts of our system that sort of balance each other out. The sympathetic nervous system, which is what gets put in action before a performance, when you're in line at the grocery store and it's not moving, when you're in the midst of a pandemic, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what happens when you get to take a deep breath and relax. And what happens is these two work in conjunction with each other. We all know how we feel when we're tense, right? And we all know how nice it feels when we are relaxed. When we are relaxed, it's a time when we can actually rest and digest and think about fighting infections and concentrate because our body has calmed down. Think about the impact that this has on your students when they come to a lesson and they've had a bad day at school. It is normal for our bodies to generate the hormones that we need to calm down after a stressful situation. The problem is, if another stressful situation arises, we don't have enough time to recover. And then we deal with chronic stress. And we all know what the results of dealing with chronic stress are. We can't concentrate. We tantrum whether we're little or old. We're nervous. We withdraw from the world. And then the effect of these on our physical well-being are very obvious. The headaches, the increased blood pressure, the lack of sleep, lack of concentration. These are all things that I know you've heard before, if not experienced. So I want to go back to one of the little slides I showed before. Right here, this yellow in the little body that I'm moving, the yellow line, it's what's called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve gets activated when we take a deep breath and we exhale slowly. And that nerve is in charge of sending the message to the brain saying, hey, it's good. We're not in danger anymore. And so it starts sending all the hormones that we need to slow down the heart rate, to be able to slow down our blood pressure levels, to have to hyperventilate a little less. We don't have to run anymore. This is the nerve in charge of saying, we can relax. It literally is in charge of sending signals to the brain that the danger has passed. And sometimes when we can't wait until the danger has passed because we're under constant threats, given the lives we live now, we can trick this nerve into relaxing our brain. And this is what we do or we can't do to make this nerve work. Spend time in nature. My husband is an attorney. He trains his attorneys to take their shoes off and go step onto the grass, because the contact with the grass sends these signals to your brain that you're not as bad as you think. it can help you relax. Of course, we all feel good after getting a massage. Practicing meditation, we did a little bit of that at the beginning. Contemplative prayer, which is centering your breath, and for some religions, around certain words. You all know how beautiful animals can be, yoga, exercise, and relaxations. I'm going to skip through what mindfulness is because we did it today. This whole point about observing your breath and trying to not judge when your mind is going away. Just come back to the present moment without being hard on yourself. There's a lot written about this, and we can talk about it later. What I want to talk about is, how does this concern us, musicians? Students can't learn unless they're capable of concentrating. And sometimes they can't concentrate because they just got home and they have to log into another Zoom that they don't want to do. Sometimes they can't concentrate because they haven't had a good snack. Sometimes they can't concentrate because they had to do lockdown drills at school and they are scared. Sometimes they can't concentrate because they don't know if they're going to be able to visit their grandparents in the midst of these times we are in. I think students are under enormous amounts of stress these days. And it's our job to be able to bring them to the present moment so that they can connect with us and connect with music. We cannot teach them unless they're capable of being here and now. And this is why I want to share what I have learned with you today. You cannot do this being present in the moment with your students if you don't do it for yourself. This is the tricky part of this. What I have learned that has helped me enormously is that if I incorporate mindfulness into the lessons, they are doing it and I am doing it. If we start our lessons together via Zoom or in person, and I do a bunch of both right now, by taking some deep breaths, they are breathing and I am breathing. And interestingly enough, after I teach, I always feel better, whether the lesson was a good one or not. And I'm convinced I feel better because I've been doing either mindful movement or mindful breathing or finding ways to connect with my students and therefore with myself. One of the things that happens with mindfulness is not so much how we think about what we're doing, but how we are experiencing our bodies as we are in the present moment. So when I was asking you before today, what does it feel like when you're nervous? You're sort of going in not your head, but your body. And by the same token, when we take deep breaths, we're tuning into our senses, and that brings us to this moment we have right now. So these are my ideas. First of all, you have to be able to incorporate somehow some kind of deep breathing or mindful exercise into your own life, whether that's a yoga class or a water exercise class or a walk where you choose to put your phone behind and you connect with nature. Self-care is not a vacation at the beach when we're all able to get back into a plane in a carefree way. That's not going to happen for a while. So we have to find little ways of taking vacations in our minds and in our bodies every day. Leaving mindfulness for the end of the year when you can actually think and relax with a cup of tea is almost like saying, I'm going to eat healthy in January, but I will eat whatever I can the rest of the year. Or I'm only going to drink water on Saturdays. And the other piece that is so important is our students, especially the young ones, but this happens with everybody, look to us for emotional cues. We function as mirrors of each other. My daughter, as I was putting her in the car 2 days ago, late because we were running late, said to me, Mommy, I can tell you're not mad, you're just stressed right now. And I gave her a smile and said, you got it, girl. She was able to read my body language and tell me with words what she was seeing. Our students can pick up on those cues all the time. So this is what I do. This is what works for me. And I'm gonna come back to the slide before. I wanna show you, these are pictures of my own children throughout the pandemic. I snapped these while they were doing these exercises with their teachers. My son here is doing a mountain pose. The mountain pose is where you close your eyes and you extend your arms. You can also do it with your arms next to your body. And you take deep breaths, and the idea is that you feel like a dignified, tall mountain, and things happening around you are the weather, and you just kind of watch them go by, but you don't have to go with them. My son in the middle is doing a wonderful exercise that I love, and I invite you to do this one now. If you extend your hand, you're going to trace your left hand or your right hand, it doesn't matter, with your index finger of the other hand. And as you go up on a finger, you're going to take the inhale. And as you go down, you're going to exhale. And you want to do it slowly so your vagus nerve has time to relax and to send those signals of relaxation. So you just follow your fingers by inhaling when you go up and exhaling when you go down. I love this one for my piano students because it's about their hands. This is what they play the piano with. So it's easy to do that. And this is my daughter also doing yoga with her teachers at school. Something I also use is these little cards. I have them right here next to the piano. So I'll say to my students, should we do one of these cards today? I don't talk about mindfulness. I don't say we're gonna do deep breathing. I say, well, let's start the lesson with a game. So if I'm next to them, I'll give a little stack and they can choose one that calls their attention. If I'm doing an online lesson, I'll say, tell me a number from 1 to 10, because otherwise, if I say when, they spend the entire lesson, and this is a lot of cards. So you have to manage the whole time issue as well. So I'll say when, or say, I'm sorry, 1 to 10, they say 5, I count to 5, and then I'll say, this is what you got. You got the fox ears. So sit on your bench, take a deep breath. The fox ears are gonna listen to what's happening around them. And they come up with the most imaginative things. So this is also wonderful for creativity when they're having to use that on a specific piece. This is Zaylee using one of these cards. We had gotten together. We had a lot of in-person lessons, and then Zaylee's dad got transferred to Alabama. And her mom has kept me as a piano teacher because when she's with me, Zaylee takes deep breaths. At the beginning, the sound is a little not very clear, but it gets better as you go. So what you have to do, this is called the focused flower. Are you ready for the instructions? And you can ask your mommy to do this one with you. So it says, you have to choose something around you that you think is beautiful, like a flower. Can you choose something in the room that you are that is beautiful?
Okay. So we have to choose something around us that we think is beautiful. What's something we have?
Look and Lucy.
Oh, okay.
Two baby dolls.
Tell Fernanda, and they're right there.
Look and Lucy, two baby dolls.
Baby dolls? I love it. Okay, so here is the baby.
What she chose.
Oh, they are beautiful. I love them. Okay, can you hold them for me?
Does she want you to hold them?
Now, as you look at them, I want you to take a breath and think to yourself, these are the most beautiful dolls I have. Can you take a breath for me?
Nice breath.
Love it. And then tell me one question I'm going to ask you. Are they soft or are they hard, your dolls?
They're soft and hard. Their heads and the feet and the arms are hard, but the tummy and back are soft.
Nice. And if you put your hands on your head, is it soft or hard?
Your head hard or soft, she wants to know.
Hard. Hard. Hard.
And what about on your cheeks? Look, I'm going to close my eyes and take a breath. My cheeks are soft. What are your cheeks like?
Soft.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so we did our friends. I'm going to put my friends away. Are you ready? So we use that exercise later on for her to experience a flexible wrist. I said, I want you to tighten your wrist and now make it hard and now make it soft. Just like Luke and Lucy, her baby dolls. And she could establish that connection because she had been able to feel it in her body first, in addition to breathing. This is what our children use in school. This comes from a website called Conscious Discipline, Breathing Techniques. And these are the exercises that I told you I learned from my own kids. They did throughout the pandemic, and they do them now as well. And this is my daughter explaining them. This is my assistant, Luciana. She's going to teach us conscious discipline breathing techniques.
4 different things. First, the drain. You put your hands out like this, then get all frozen. And breathe out. Next, the star. You put your feet out and your hands out. Smile. Breathe in. Breathe out. Next, the balloon. You put your feet together and then your hands on your head. And then breathe in. And then the pretzel. You put your hands out like if it was a drain. Cross. Together. Thumbs up. Put your tongue up. And
This one is very effective because everybody wants to see Luciana do it. They have no interest in me being the one who demonstrates. They're like, let's watch Luciana's video showing us how to breathe. Once in a while, I'll say we have time for one. So choose which of these do you want? So they are in charge of choosing also what they want to start a lesson with. Sometimes I'll start my lessons with one of these exercises. If I am in person, I just put them out and I display them and they choose what they want. If I am doing an online lesson, I'll say, what do you feel like doing today? Do you want a calm exercise? Do you want a focus exercise? But let's pretend they say, I would like to do a calming exercise. I simply lift the poster and I say, choose a color t-shirt that appeals to you, or I share my screen and they can see it. They love these also as little breaks in between activities. We all know that sustaining somebody's attention for a half an hour, 45 minutes over Zoom is really difficult. So sometimes I use these with my students for just a little brain break in between. One of the things that mindfulness has helped me with is dealing with my own frustration at students when they're eating at the lesson. It drives me crazy. And we all know that it's difficult to say no eating at the lesson when they just got home from school and they need a snack before the piano lesson. Also, it's not your home. You can't tell your students that they can't have a smoothie next to the piano or on a chair or on a table. It's just really difficult to control an environment that you're not in, right? So I've decided to, when they are eating, use some exercises that I learned in the course I took about using eating as a way to stop and have a moment before you continue. And this is Lawson. I didn't know he was going to do this. This day he brought Cheez-Its to the lesson. He lives far away too, so I never get to see him in person. Hello, Lawson. How are you today?
good.
can see.
What are you eating that is so yummy and delicious?
Cheez-Its?
Cheez-Its! Of course. Look, oh my gosh, let me see that. Can I have one?
They're not real Cheez-Its.
They're not real.
They're bigger than Cheez-Its. They're better. Wow, they look amazing. Are they crunchy? Are they crunchy?
Extra crunchy.
Extra crunchy? Here, bring a Cheez-It so we can do a breathing exercise with one of your crackers. Breathe one over. But don't eat it. Don't eat it until I tell you to, okay?
Okay.
Do what I do. I don't have one, so I'm gonna use the sticky note. Use my mirror, okay? So put it in the palm of your hand. Don't eat it until I tell you to. And you're gonna bring it to your nose and smell it, but close your eyes to take a deep breath. Does it smell delicious?
Yeah.
And now, go like this, and touch it. And listen to what sound that makes.
Makes it like
And what happens, one last one, and then you're gonna have to all wash your hands. What happens if you put it up to your lips without eating it? And another breath, close your eyes. Does your mouth start watering?
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty delicious. Okay, you can have this one really quick and go wash your hands and come back to the piano. So that was all he did. He couldn't eat anymore because we were done with that. That took us 2 minutes. Sometimes I'll say to him, I want you to really listen to this line as you play it, as if you were listening to the Cheez-It that we used the other day. So I started establishing comparisons that mindfulness practice during the lesson helps me with teaching. Let's see what else here. I did these. These are another strategy. Sometimes we feel like we don't know what to do for our own self-care. Like I said before, if you are not in a good place, it's really hard to be able to show up for your students or your family. And just some strategies for calming down. And finally, I would like to have some time for questions or comments. A quote, we can't stop the waves, so we can learn to surf. We cannot stop the stress we feel in this time. We cannot change politics. We cannot change senseless tragedies. We cannot change natural disasters. But we can learn to have tools so that we can survive all the things that happens to us in these crazy times. Are there any questions? We have plenty of time. Any comments? I probably went faster than I wanted to. One of the things that has helped me personally after I took this class was the organization that organizes that puts this in practice. This course also has every hour of the day a meditation, a silent meditation, where you can bring your own recorded meditation, or there's lots of apps. I've put a bunch of those in the resources in the handout, or you can also just sit in silence. And at first I thought, I'm not gonna have time for 15 minutes every day, and it doesn't have to be every day. I'm not gonna have time to do this. And then I realized I probably spend 15 minutes looking at Facebook every day, or social media, or news, and I never feel good about any of what I see after doing it. So I'm replacing less time in social media, less time on going to my phone, and more time in silence. Also, at the end of this meditation, there's an optional reflection, and usually the questions will be, what are you hopeful for today? Or how the meditation time helped you in your life today? What are you grateful for? I always come out of these sessions with a smile on my face. So if you are interested and you want to know more about this, I thought it was going to be a huge commitment, and it isn't. So I'd be happy to chat with you personally, or tell you more about how I'm incorporating this into my own life. Mindfulness does not change when a student hasn't practiced. Lack of preparation does not get a sort of combated with by mindfulness. So I do want to say that it helps music making, it helps music learning, and definitely music teaching, but it doesn't account for lack of practice or preparation. I think somebody had a question.
Maria, did you have a question? You have to mute.
Yeah, what was the name of the that you went to, the program?
It's called MBSR. I'm typing it into the chat. The organization is called Mindful Leader. And I'm also going to put their website on the chat. They have an 8-week training. And it's a big commitment to do the training, but you can also do the sort of drop-in mindful practices. They have some pre-recorded meditations there. The apps you have to pay. I think the Calm app is very good, and the other app that I recommend is 10% with Dan Harris. Both of those are not free, but then UCLA has a free app where you can get your own meditations and you don't have to pay. So it's good to know that there are resources out there that are not connected to money always, because sometimes it's one more thing you have to worry about, and we don't want that to be a cause of stress as well.
Well, that's very helpful to have those names of apps, because I know for myself, I'll go on and I'll try to find something. It's like, no, this is not what I'm looking for. This is not, so I really appreciate that. Is that the 8-week course? Is it online?
It's online. Yes.
Online.
Online.
Okay.
It's not cheap, but I was grateful to MTNA for the grant.
Mm-hmm.
It's about $725 or something like that. It is a big commitment, as I said. It's a commitment to a daily 45-minute meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And there is, I thought at first, I'm going to die because it's going to be 45 minutes in silence. How am I going to do this? And it wasn't like that. It's all guided, kind of like the one we did at the beginning, but much longer. And then other recordings as well, and practices. The whole piece about eating mindfully, the whole exercise that I did with Lawson and the Cheez-It, we had to do with a raisin, and just connect to the present moment through something as silly as a raisin. I couldn't believe how much calmer I felt after I did it. And sometimes, mindfulness is not for everybody. So of course it depends on you and the students you have.
Do you have like a certain environment, a certain place that you would suggest to do it? Like, would you do it in your studio? Would you do it in your bedroom? Or,
I find that's a really great question. I try to do it in a place where I feel happy.
Mm-hmm.
So my bedroom could be the place, but also if I'm in bed and I'm tired, I'll end up falling asleep. For me, is in my piano studio at home after everybody's gone. I try to meditate when these classes are happening, this meditate together, free space, on sitting down on the floor or on the couch. But also I'll take my phone when I go pick up my kids and cue them 5-minute meditation while I'm waiting for them, instead of looking at Facebook, or instead of watching a movie on the phone. I mean, there's those little moments, those 5-minute moments are, I think, the biggest gift I gave myself when I started this, because my biggest challenge was, I just don't know how I'm going to find the time to do this, or the space. And having had 3 kids at home for the entire duration of the pandemic, felt like I was actually never going to have a moment for myself, or nobody was around me. So I knew how much I craved it, but it was difficult to envision how I was going to put it in practice.
I think it's also a habit. You know, you just have to form that habit. Like you were saying, I mean, it's like first thing you sometimes do is pick up the phone and you look at Facebook or you look at your emails or, you know, and it's like, I hate that because I'm like, I want to be able to think of something else, but I can't, that just doesn't pop into my mind. You know, it's not like, oh, I need to, you know, breathe or be mindful right now.
Yeah, and I sometimes, we have this is such a muscular memory thing that we all go to this.
Mhm.
And one of the meditations during the class was, what do you need more of and what do you need less of? And for me, I needed less social media. And so whenever I feel like I need to go to my phone, I either go to see pictures of my family or I start looking for recipes, which is such a silly thing, right? But I'm not looking at the state of the world or another tragedy that is coming our way. And it's not to be disconnected from those things, or being able to show up with compassion in the world, to be a good ally and a good helper. It's to be able to preserve myself so that I can do those things when the time is needed. I'm no good to my family or my students if I'm in a blob of depression because I can't function given how terrible things can be, right? So those little changes have really helped me. And I also show up differently for those moments of panic and stress.
I have a question for you, Fernanda. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I was just wondering if, like, do you give any of these exercises as like suggestions or like even assignments for students to do at home so that they like kind of equate maybe even their practice time to a sense of calm and, you know, everything that you want to associate with that? And how do you do that? And do the kids have success with that?
They do, and the parents love it. Sometimes I'll have the kids practice it with the parents. This works particularly in online situations. I want to show you. So I don't know the ratio of virtual teaching and in-person teaching that you are doing, but for my students to keep their assignments, to know what they're doing, I used to keep notebooks where I wrote things down for them. I no longer do that. I do Google Docs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to share this one here. This one is lessons. And so I keep lesson by lesson. And you can see here, I'm asking him, and this is a video that I attached so he could watch me do it. I'm asking him to practice a figure 8 as he breathes in and out, following his finger for concentration before he practices his piece. And that is from these posters.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, if they're never in my house or my studio in person, I'll say, you have to practice this with your mom. And then the mom will come back and say, we had a great time breathing together. Well, no wonder, you're calming your nervous system and you're probably as frazzled as all the moms and dads right now. So no wonder it helped. So yes, I try to make it part of their practice as well. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I really like that idea because I know a lot of my students will just like kind of like everything's going on, right, in their lives. They sit down to practice and they're not really engaging with their practicing. They're thinking about everything else. So to kind of have that buffer, like, okay, we're going to stop. This is the time to be present here at this moment. I think that's a great idea. And I like to actually do something physical is a good idea to
because
separate.
coming to your body always helps you. So tuning into your senses or your body will always help you become present. So something I do in the class that I took, we were supposed to envision the ground holding us. So I'll say, before you sit and practice, I wanted to just put your feet on the floor and feel the bench holding you as you're about to play. Feel your arm on your knee before you put it on the piano to play. And they have to show me, and I'll start a lesson asking them, show me how you practice breathing this week. So they have to sort of become accountable for that. But it's a way of saying, hey, this is what we do before we start. It's impossible to expect a student to breathe before a recital when they're a nervous wreck without having trained them to do that. And we usually wait until then, right? So the point here is to make it part of our lives and their lessons as well.
Mhm.
Thank you for asking that. I forgot to mention it, so I'm glad you did.
That's great. Thank you.
Martha.
Are the posters with the postures and the little renegade cards part of the mindful leader, or are these things you?
These things are, I mean, if you do a search on Google for
Found
mindful activities for kids, you're gonna find more
elsewhere,
stuff.
or?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me okay? I think the sound went off for a minute. I searched for these online.
Okay.
And these posts, they're all in your handout. So I've bought these on Amazon. The little renegades are also from Amazon. There's a website called Little Renegades. Sometimes if you go to the local library, you can find a bunch of books on mindfulness, and I have a couple here that will help you. If Zaylee is so tiny, she's 5. So I'll start by saying, I brought you a book. Let's do a practice. And so I'll say, okay, I'm just gonna close my eyes and open. Oh, wow, look at this girl. She's all stressed out. This is the world right now. She feels all over the place. And then I'll open at the end. And I always say, instead of saying, can you breathe deeply, or I'll say, can you be my mirror? And then I breathe, and then they breathe. And they don't even know what they're doing, but it doesn't matter. This is not about being in your head thinking about what you're doing. It's about being in your body. And any visuals help. What I'm saying with the books is this author, her name is Susan Verde. I'm gonna type her name because I think she might not be in the handout. Going to the library is free. Checking books out is free. So I have not spent a whole lot of money on resources.
I thought I would share just kind of something that I show with my students. Not every lesson, but I try to do it on a regular basis if I can. I need to incorporate the breathing part of it now, but I know that. So I have this here. It says the pursuit of happiness. It's the different emoji faces, and one thing I've started to realize is that, I mean, I'm stressed out. If I'm stressed out, I'm sure our students are stressed out, after school and everything. And so I will, I'll say, okay, just point to the emoji that you're feeling right now, or point to the emoji face that that you experienced at school or something, and just to recognize what their emotions are going through. And sometimes I'll even point, I'll be like, yeah, I'm tired right now, but it does help us to kind of be aware of each other, and it just helps with the relationship, I think, too, because I mean, we say as teachers, we're not just piano teachers, we're there to emotional support and, psychologists or whatever, sometimes if we have to, or therapists, but I think that if they point to it, this could be a way of saying, okay, how can we breathe with this, and so I think I'm gonna
absolutely, yeah, I totally agree with that. One of the pieces also of your handout is videos. If you do online teaching and you want to share your screen at some point, or you can also do them while you're at home. Go Noodle is the name of the website. They have videos on movement, they have videos on meditations, they have easy exercises that then you can incorporate in your teaching. If a student is really holding their shoulders up and holding tension, but they're not connected to their body, so they can't even tell. I'll say, let's play uncooked noodles or spaghetti. And now as they begin to cook, they're all soft and relaxed. And so they it's a game, right? But you're teaching them to be in tune with their bodies. With children, everything has to be a game. Or if you say, I want you to shrug your shoulders and tense, and that's not going to work maybe as well. But they have a ton of exercises like that. We'll do a competition of funny faces. So I'll show my turtle face all tense and like this, and then I'll say, no, my happy bunny face. And I'll say, be my mirror, show me your turtle face, show me your happy bunny face. And they have so much fun that, number one, they're ready for learning because they're happy. And number two, I get incredible feedback from the parents. These are students that I never lose because they know those kids come to me to learn piano and also to foster happiness. And that is an incredible gift in times like today. I had a recital with one of my students not long ago, and it was a Zoom recital. Her family couldn't come, and she just did it from my studio, and everybody tuned in just like you are right now. And somebody asked her, you don't seem nervous. Are you nervous? And how do you deal with that? And her 8-year-old poised self, she says, I do get nervous, but Miss Fernanda and I practice mindfulness in every lesson, so that helps me a lot. And I was like, yes, this is great. So I couldn't stress it enough. It's been a lifesaver for me. Like I said before, sort of like eating broccoli, super important. Any other questions? We're almost out of time. I don't want to surpass my invitation here, overstay my visit, like they say.
I just really, really appreciate you sharing what you have, and it just is so, I don't know, I feel like for me, I think it is just a habit. I have to, because I put that on the back burner, and I was raised that, well, my mom was that way, it's like focus on everyone else and not so much on yourself. And I think that's easy to just, be like, oh, I don't need that. It's like the exercising. It's like, oh, I guess I'll have time to exercise. And I know I got to do it, but it's just like, sometimes, I don't have the time or anything. One thing I find that if I can go away and like I have a gym that I can actually, there's just a yoga class that I'll go to. And I try to get there as much as and maybe once a week if I can. And I fall asleep, of course, especially at the end, but it really is, of course, makes me more tired, but.
But if you are so tired, the biggest gift you can give yourself is to get some rest.
Yeah.
If you would indulge me, I'd like to finish our time together with the last thing I learned in my class, which was a loving kindness exercise. So you close your eyes and you think of somebody that you really, really love, and you sort of hold that person in your imagination. And what you want to say to that person is, may you be safe, may you be calm, may you be at ease and peace. And then if instead of imagining that other person, you can put yourself. So imagine you're watching a picture of yourself, and you can wish yourself some self-compassion and some love. And just think to yourself, may I be at peace. May I be loved. May I be at ease. I always feel happier when I do that. So if anything, we can have some self-compassion in these crazy times. I wish you all good, mindful rest of your day. Thank you so much for having me today. And also a a healing recovery as the community in Boulder continues to deal with the fires.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fernanda. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And yeah, thank you. Thank you for the
being here
presentation.
today. You'll get in touch with me to see how I can get you the recording, or how that do we do about?
Yes, I'll get, yeah, if you don't mind sending me the recording, then. we can
Perfect.
do that.
All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of, actually, I've gotten some teachers that have called or asked, and they're like, I need it recorded. I'm not available. So this will be very helpful. Thank
And
you.
you all have my contact. If anything comes up and you have any questions, please reach me on my cell or my email. I'm very approachable.
Great.
All right.
Well,
Goodbye,
thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you so much. Have a
Good
wonderful
night.
rest of your day. Thanks for having me.
I'll see you next week then, or not